Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the #1 sports podcast, broadcasting Sundays at 9 a.m. ish in Sacramento, California. Sports Talk 916. Now, here are your hosts, Greg Bowl and Coach Greg Barroso.
Episode 298, special edition coming at you on a Monday evening, post-apocalyptic Black Monday. It is, like I said, Black Monday in the NFL. It is Celebration Monday for the NFC West and for many teams making the playoffs. And it is Sports Talk 916 Monday with Greg Veroza and myself. So, Greg, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you? Having some technical issues, but that's all right. We'll still make it happen.
Making it work. So we'll be
Yep.
sans soundboard tonight because Mr. Rose is having some technical issues, but that's okay. TJ says good morning. Mike Hawthorne says good evening. We'll call it good afternoon. So it is Monday night. It is 7 p.m. instead of 9 a.m. Sunday. Lots to talk about. There's turmoil in the kingdom.
And I can't stand Kings fans right now.
It's
They're all stupid. They're all just fucking idiots. I'm sorry, but they're idiots.
So there's turmoil in the kingdom. There is dismay in the Bay because they are now down to one team. Officially, as of yesterday, the Bay Area is one team.
Yep.
There is celebration across the Bay and down the road and to the left. There's a couple coaches that have been fired. There's some coaches that are rumored to be fired. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, Black Monday turned out to be just a little gray, not black.
Yeah, grayish Monday.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot going on.
But if you want to get into details and like the nitty gritty, Black Monday has the potential to be very dark. So,
oh yeah,
we'll get to that here in a few minutes. But as of right now, we'll start off with let's start off with Sacramento Kings because they are an absolute train wreck. Last week we started to give them a little bit of hope, a little bit of credit. They kind of played a little bit better, and since then the wheels have completely just fallen off the train.
And I think you and I are on a little bit different sides of this argument too. I think our opinions differ a little bit on this. So this could be
I'm not even sure I have an opinion on this anymore, to be completely honest with you. I've kind of stayed out of it when it comes to all the talk, just because I can't keep up with all the panic and all the turmoil. TJ says they will not make the playoffs before he turns 40. Yeah, it's probably accurate.
Come on, TJ, you know better than that.
Well, no, they're not going to make the playoffs before he turns 40.
When does he turn 40?
I want to say he's 38, 37 maybe. He'll tell us here in a second. But the Kings have lost 7 in a row now? 8 in a row now?
Yeah. 7, I think, yeah.
They're the slump busters. They're the ugly fat chick of the NBA right now. They're just letting team. I mean, Phoenix had eight losses in a row. They lost to them. The game before that they lost. 2022, he turns 40. The Kings just can't win. Dwayne Dedman's come out and publicly asked for a trade, and now the NBA is investigating that. And fuck it, let him let him out. Just cut him. That's fine. We don't even care anymore at this point. Buddy Hield seemingly hates Coach Walton. Most fans seemingly hate Coach Walton. I don't know how I feel about the damn guy, honestly. Man, it's so all over the place. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Let me give you a little bit of a glimmer of hope here.
Yeah.
And so here's my thought, my take on this. First off, everybody keeps going back to, we haven't been made the playoffs in 13 years. Well, this team hasn't been around for 13 years. Take your number 1 and number 2 guys off your team for all but 4 games, and what's going to happen?
See, I'm not.
Look at what's going on in Golden State. Now, our guys aren't that good, but it's going to have an effect when you take your top 2 players and they're injured and they're not playing. Throw on top of that a coach that is trying to come in and install a new system, and he's got an immature group of leaders. The leaders on this team are young, and I'm calling Buddy young because he's only been around for 4 years.
Can I call Buddy terrible?
Well, yeah, I mean he's in a slump. He's in the shooting slump, but he didn't forget how to shoot. System.
Can we get Buddy a fat chick so he can have his slump too?
I know, right? Yeah, maybe that's what we need to do.
God.
So I don't think there's a whole lot of panic that needs to happen, and I think people have to forget the past. That this team has been around. Team's only been together for literally, I believe it's 72 games.
Okay, but that's 65 games enough for them to figure out how to win a fucking game against a team that's lost 8 in a row.
Yeah,
at home.
You're taking your 2 best players and
don't
not
care.
playing them.
The Kings, they beat Houston. They beat another team they shouldn't have beat. I'm already drawing a blank on it. They had a couple games that Boston. They beat Denver at home.
Yeah.
They competed with all these teams without their best players.
But that's where I say the immaturity's coming in, where they're not, at that point.
I hear excuses. I hear excuses, and that's the problem. Is this is a professional basketball team?
I don't know that it's an excuse.
They've played down to a level that's inexcusable. They played good without Bagley. They played good without Fox. They played good with. I mean, they don't play good without Bogey. And they beat teams they had zero chance of even being on the floor with. So to say, oh, it's because they don't have their top 2 players, I'm calling bullshit on that. It falls on the lap of Walton, and his rotations are terrible. You have a kid with like Harry Giles, who's one of the up and coming promising players that's on this roster, who has potential like none other. He has 10 DNP coaches' decisions, yet fucking 85-year-old Trevor Ariza is getting 35 minutes a game, and he's not scoring a point.
I don't understand. I agree with you on that.
You start Dwayne Dedmon. Okay, great. You know what? I'll give him that because Bagley got hurt. There's nothing you can do about that. But you have Dedmon out there shooting threes from 90 feet away. No one's reprimanding him. He's not playing defense. He's not rebounding. You don't play Yogi Ferrell. You call up Kyle Guy for like 8 games. He doesn't even see the floor in garbage time. You played Jackson, I believe his name is, the other rookie, who's playing great. Like I'm cool with him being up. But you sit Buddy in the 4th, multiple times, and the only way, and Walton should know this more than anybody, is to get out of a slump, you keep shooting the ball. And Buddy's sitting the 4th quarter when it matters. If you want to build team chemistry and you want to build trust and you want to build these guys up, he needs to be on the court with those guys at the end of the game, because what's going to happen when he starts shooting the ball good again? You're going to stick him out there, and he's not going to have those minutes with those guys out there, and there's going to be discombobulation. You're not going to fucking know what the hell's going on when it matters. He's going to stand around with a thumb up his ass because he's been sitting on the bench. He's not going to know what to do. If he's your best player, you paid him like your best player, I don't give a shit if he's shooting over 50. You leave him on the court in crunch time. Do you think Steph Curry's ever sat on the floor when he was shooting or sat on the bench when he's like 4 for 15 from 3? No, because
I don't know that he's ever been 4 for 15.
No, but the last couple games at the end of last season, there were games where he started out 0 for 6, 0 for 7, 0 for 8. Steve Kerr doesn't bench him. You let the motherfucker shoot the ball until he finds his rhythm again.
Yeah, but do you think those times he was benched where Walton was trying to protect his confidence, what little confidence he has, and just say,
okay,
hey,
I'm going to answer that question with your own statement. It's a young team.
Yeah.
They're learning to play the game together. You don't think benching your quote unquote star player in crunch time is going to hurt his confidence more than him missing shots? He's been missing shots his whole life. He's a shooter. You don't make every shot you take.
Right.
Leave his ass on the goddamn floor. There's no reason why, especially when Bogdanovic is out, to have your best shooter. Buddy can shoot the ball with his eyes closed and make 5 out of 10. And 9 times
Maybe
out of
that's
10.
his problem. Maybe he's been shooting with his eyes closed.
But 9 times out of 10, when you shoot the ball at the end of the game anyways, you're just throwing up a prayer. You're not getting a clean look. Let him shoot the damn ball. Let him be out there. And Josh, you hit it on the head. There's no reason that we should be worse when our top 2 teams are out or top 2 players are out. No, we should be better, and yet we're
not gonna be better with our top 2 players.
No, we should be better with them. I think I read his statement wrong. There's no reason for us to be worse when our top 2 players are out.
Well, yeah, but also, and again, it sounds like I'm making excuses, but I don't think I really am. You know, when those guys have been out for that long, they're not going to come back and be at 100% ready to play or have their game legs on the first 2 or 3 games. And they were back for what, 5 games? It takes longer than that to get back up and ready. Sometimes you are going to take a step backwards before you take 2 steps forward with those guys coming back.
I'm calling the game legs thing, maybe I'm calling that half bullshit because Bagley came out and he clearly was struggling to get back in the rhythm. Fox came off the bench his first game. They said he was going to have a 12-minute restriction. He played 35 minutes because of how good he was playing.
Right.
So Fox, you can't make those assumptions with Fox that he was trying to get back in the rhythm and whatever. This team is just bad. And the coaching staff is bad. And it's just there's, I hate to say it, but there's no end in sight right now. There's not anyone that's on the bench waiting to come in that's going to fix this team. There's no one returning from injury. Bogey's not going to fix this team. I hate to say it. What are we, 25 games into the season?
Yeah.
What's our record? Fucking like 8 and a million?
12 and 21, 12 and 20.
So we're almost halfway through the season already?
12 and 21, I think. Yeah.
Okay. It's Dedmon wants out. Start trading everybody.
But you can't. Here's the problem with that is how are you ever going to get consistency if you're continuously firing coaches and trading everybody and turning over the roster?
How do you get
you're never ever going to get any consistency by doing that. So at some point you're going to have to say, okay, these guys at some point in their lives were good. At some point they played well together. At some point they demonstrated that they were top level basketball players. I'm going to say top level.
At some point in his life, Dr. J could dunk.
Yeah, but come on. I mean,
no, I'm being serious right here because here's the deal. They build this quote unquote young super team, right?
Right.
They play at a level that we haven't seen that young super team play at. And you get rid of the coach that built that team. You brought in Walton to be the next coach against basically everybody's opinion. Vlade made a bold move that had no legs to it. Every person in any knowledge at all knew that he was successful in Golden State because of the roster, and the roster that he had and the talent that he had in LA proved that it was Golden State's roster that made him good. He cannot coach up. It starts at the top, and I'm not saying get rid of Vlade because Vlade has done a good job, but he did not hire the right coach to coach this team. Walton has never been a coach that does well with young players or egotistical players.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you need to give. I think people need to step back and be a little bit more patient. I mean, I saw something the other day. I think Oscar might have posted it, or somebody did, where they showed that the record for the first 4 years that they had Clay and Steph there, and they were well under 500 until the 4th or 5th year, and then the couple of years before, when what's his face got there in Denver, when Malone got there in Denver, they had crappy years, and then all of a sudden they took off. So I think people are thinking that we're going to go from 29 wins to 50 wins overnight, and it's not going to happen.
No, but we're going to go from 30. What were we at last year? 38.
Is that what it was? Okay, I thought
whatever the hell we were at last year, 34, whatever it was. We crested 30. We're going from 30-ish wins to 25.
Yeah, but I go back to, I think you need to think there's going to be a couple of steps backwards before they start heading forward.
Have you seen the video? Have you seen the video of the UPS driver that fell and slipped down the frozen driveway?
No.
That's the Sacramento Kings. They have fallen on an icy hill and have slid down to the bottom with no stopping in sight.
See, I'm gonna call bullshit on that, and I'm gonna say that you have a new coach, a brand new system that's completely different than what they played with last year, and you've had your top couple of players out, and there's no consistency built on this team with all those changes,
and there's no consistency with the coaching that's going to make these guys better either.
You don't know that though. I mean, it's been
look what Walton was unable to do with a much better young core in LA before LeBron. That team should have been with Kuzma and with Lonzo and with all those young players that they had. And basically everyone that Randall and everyone that's in New Orleans now, that team should have been much better than a 23 or whatever the hell win team they were. But Walton couldn't coach the young guys. You bring in LeBron, you bring in Rondo, you bring in, McGee, these other guys that are supposed to bring that veteran presence to help out Luke Walton. And yeah, LeBron got hurt quite a bit, but when LeBron was there, they were barely a 500 team. Walton is about as good as a player or a coach as he was a player. He's a bench riding mediocre player. And I hate to say it, but he's turning out to be a mediocre coach. And I never in my life thought I would agree with someone in the Sacramento Kings kingdom. But yesterday, someone said it's time to bring in Doug Christie as coach.
No.
You need to do something. Spark something. Bobby Jackson's big ass isn't going to get off the bench.
What happens if you bring Christie in and in his first 20 games, he goes 8-12, or he goes 4-16? Are you going to bring in somebody else? At what point is this team and this organization going to go, okay, we trust you. You have 3 years. Look at the Niners. What would have happened if?
So if we're following the Niners process, then we need to get rid of Vlade and bring in a better general manager who understands how to build a team.
But no, they did that. And they've taken the team and they've rebuilt it. Now they started rebuilding the Niners 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and they've sucked for 3 years. But they kept coming back, going, we see progress, we see potential in this, and we're going to give you 5 years to get this done.
But we've had 14.
No, they haven't.
This team has been shitty for 14 years. There's been 14 years of turnover and inconsistency.
This team is exactly. There's been how many coaches has there been in that amount of time?
I'm not worried. Okay, let me ask you this: if you're going to compare Niners to Kings, how many season-ending injuries did the Kings have last season?
I don't know.
None.
Yeah, but that's,
how many did the 49ers have over the last 3 years of being terrible? The Niners led the league, but but they were terrible on account of the fact that they couldn't keep their players on the field.
Well, the Kings can't keep their players on the court
this year. What about the last 13?
Well, okay, so, yeah, but
you know what I'm doing? I'm getting on the phone and I'm calling Seattle and I'm going, look, fucking take them. I'm done with them. You can have them. We'll pack them up.
I just think you can't look at the last 14 years. You have to take this group.
They're the worst franchise in sports the last 10.
Fourth or fifth.
Okay, so in the NBA, 517 losses.
I know.
No playoff appearances in this entire fucking decade. All right, I love them. I love them. I have them tattooed on my leg.
You can't compare this group together. You can't hold this group that's on the floor now responsible for the last 13 years. You can't do it. You got to give. There has to be. You have to keep a core group of people. I mean, it's all we talked about last year was our young core group.
So here's what I want. Here's what I want. Here's what I want. If you want a young core,
hold on. Let me finish.
Okay, fine.
You got to keep this group together. You got to give them a chance to grow together, and it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to go from 35 win. I kind of feel like people expect them to win 50 games this year.
They're expecting them to be better than 35. You made a change. You brought in. You took a coach that was winning and had these guys playing at an all-time high.
Well, you and I both didn't want to see him go.
Right, but I'm saying though, you're saying that people are expecting them to jump up to 50 wins. When you win the most you've won in a 5-year period, once DeMarcus was gone and they made those changes and they had Yeager playing, or had these guys playing good, they went from 29 to 35, right? A 6-game jump.
Right.
Okay, maybe not 50, but you might want 500 ball or 43, 44 wins. You want progress. This team is going to fall back 10 games. They're not going to jump up 5. And that to me is a problem because Vlade went out there, fired another coach, which puts like 56 people on the coaching payroll at this point, and said, we're going to get better. We're going to have a better team, and shot himself in the foot because he made a decision to not hire 39 wins. Okay, great. So 6 more would have put him at 45. They made a move to get better and set the team back. And the problem is though, you're not holding Vlade accountable. You're saying, oh, it's injuries, it's this and that. You need to keep a young core together. So why don't we do this? Why don't we build our young core? Okay. And here's my suggestion for this.
That's what we were doing.
Yeah, but here's my suggestion for it. They extended the wrong player. They extended the wrong 2-guard.
I agree with that.
Bogey should have been the one that got the 4 years, 90 or
right.
50 or 40 or $8, where the hell they gave him. And Buddy should be the one that's earning his contract, not the other way around, because Buddy got paid and Buddy disappeared. So
I agree with
if
that.
a team calls, and like I've seen rumors right now that the Lakers are interested in Bogdan Bogdanović for Kyle Kuzma. If Kuzma becomes available to the Kings, I dangle Buddy before I dangle Bogey. Because I think that this team has a much better chance of winning games with Bogey as your go-to, Kyle Kuzma, De'Aaron Fox, and potentially Marvin Bagley if he can stay healthy. That, to me, is a better core than anything surrounding Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield is a one-dimensional, I want the ball in my hands, and I'm going to shoot, and if I don't get it, I'm going to pout player. And until he proves otherwise, I'm not changing my feelings on him at all.
And I agree with you. You and I are in agreement with that.
Josh, they did not offer Bogey a max deal. They offered Bogey at the time, they could have offered Bogey more. They offered him
But they also didn't offer Buddy a max deal either.
Right. But I'm sorry, but they should have offered him more.
So I guess my whole thing is
move him to Seattle. Get him out of
right.
there. Fucking, oh, Jesus Christ. I'm so over it. Bring me Kyle Kuzma. I don't care. Get rid of everybody. No one wants to come to Sacramento Kings because it's a cow town. Sure, that's fine. Call it what you will. We suck.
Nah, I think you got to give this. You got to. At some point, you're going to have to just bite the bullet and let a group of players and coaches go for a couple of years.
Okay, so why didn't you do that 2 years ago when you canceled your season tickets? Because
I couldn't afford it.
Yeah, but if you could have afforded it, you were at wit's end with that team, and that's part of the reason why you canceled it. And that's why it was a lot easier for you to.
Because I didn't want to. I was over DeMarcus. I was over all that shit, and right. I didn't want it. So I canceled it because one, I couldn't get rid of the tickets, if I couldn't go, I was eating tickets, and two, I couldn't afford it. I was having some financial issues.
Right,
So
but you justified it because of how bad the team was playing. So if anybody
yeah,
right
but I did. I they made substantial. I'm going to call them improvements. Um, over the last couple of years that I probably there's been a couple of times where I thought maybe I made a mistake and should have kept on, could have should have held on to him. It was a financial decision
I'm
more
gonna
than
tell you this
anything.
right now. My decision to not renew my season tickets will remain to be justified until Vivek is not the one in charge of the team.
Yeah, but okay, so let's talk about him for a second. What have you heard from him in the last year?
Nothing, because all the other owners are telling him to shut the hell up.
So he's not doing anything. So he's learned his lesson. He's keeping his mouth shut.
Right, but he's also giving he if he truly felt that the team was the best, the best it's going to be, and they were turning the corner and they were getting better, like he kept saying, and a young super team and all that other shit that they talked about. And I know Vladdy
Hmm.
said that, but Vivek backed it. Then Vivek should have put his big boy pants on and blocked the firing of Dave Yeager, and he should have been one of those hands-on owners who, at that point, looks into finding ways to make your team better, because he sat back and literally let Vlade make a decision to set this team back. And we're looking at if this is the season that they get, um if this is the season that they basically get a free pass to learn Walton's system, whatever, you're looking at least 2 more years before they even contend again. And we were knocking on the playoffs doorstep last year, and we were right on the cusp of going out there and winning games and getting in the playoffs this year, especially with Golden State going down with injury the way they did. I truly believe if you kept that consistency that you wanted from last season to this year, the Kings are in the top half of the league in the West. But they're learning a new system. It was the prime time for them to pounce. They made very questionable signings in the offseason. Trevor Ariza, Dwayne Dedman. I mean, Rashard Holmes. Holmes is probably the bright spot. It's reminding me. I don't know why, but I have this gut feeling, and it sickens me that it's the cash strap Maloofs feeling around this team, is that they had the ability to offer more money to Bogey. They didn't do it. They did the right thing, I think, in offering the money that they offered to Buddy, because it was a team friendly deal, because they have Fox and they have Bagley coming up. Like, I'll give Vladdy credit for that, but there were other players that were interested in coming here, and they didn't even make a phone call to him. They didn't make an offer to him. It just feels to me that it's a cop out at this point, and it gave us the ability to go, oh well, now they're learning, so we're going to do it one more year of learning, one more year of learning. I'm I'm over this learning curve, and
Yeah,
it's getting to the point now where it's like, fucking put up or shut up. Put a product on the court or stop trying. We're a joke is what it is. And like Jeff said earlier, no one wants to come here. No one wants to be a part of this franchise. Now, I mean, we're not even halfway through the season. There's already just buddies coming out and talking about chemistry. There's no trust. There's no this. There's no that. He's talking about how he's upset about the coaching and the rotations. We already have a player who just signed here like 4 months ago, already demanding a trade. It's we're turning back into the Cleveland Browns. Is what we're doing.
yeah. Well, obviously things aren't right, and I agree with you. And it's become a shit show.
Josh, I would
I
agree
just
with you, but I don't want Steven Adams or Rashawn Holmes in the backcourt. Front court, maybe, not backcourt. I don't know. I'm over it.
I know, but again, I think that at some point this team, the one thing they haven't shown is patience, and they haven't shown a commitment to anybody except Demarcus, and Demarcus fucked them over.
They committed to Buddy Hield, and he's disappearing.
Well, yeah, but again, I think there's I'm not sure that was the right person. I agree with you.
Sean, you're right.
That wasn't
Been shitty for
that,
way too long. They don't even play the Kings games at local bars or restaurants anymore. You have to beg people to put them on. It's a joke. It's an
yeah.
absolute joke. And Felicia just joined. It's almost as bad as being a Dallas Cowboy fan. Just gonna put that
I
out
don't
there.
know about that.
Um, I'm over it. I'm over it. I and not only that, but to make matters worse, what is something right now that we normally around this time of year? Oh, by the way, we forgot to do our Greggies this year.
Oh, I know we did. We can still do them.
Yeah, we'll do them next week.
Yeah.
What is one thing that we normally start pulling up right now? And we do it every time this year, and I'll pull
Spring
it up.
training.
Yep. Spring training calendar, right? Spring training,
Yep.
whatever.com. I don't even give two shits about that because guess what? The Kings are going to be in San Francisco playing baseball this year too. 43 days, 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 42 seconds for those wondering. I I just hate sports. And if the Niners lose on the 11th, I swear to God, the Sharks suck. The fucking the River Cats won a championship. I guess that's good. Wrestling's fake. I don't know if you knew that. Just learned that this week.
Really?
Yeah.
What did I tell you about that?
I didn't want to believe it. All right. Jesus criminy.
How did you figure out? How did you figure out your that wrestling was fake?
I don't know. I'm just over it. Spring training for a 59 and 103 Giants team. Fuck. That's probably going to be accurate, TJ. If they don't win 60 games, I swear to God, I'm punching you in the face. Anyways, it could be worse, right? Black Monday is here. We could be on the receiving end of one of those text alerts or
Right.
Facebook alerts. Let's go to the very beginning here. So on Saturday, well, let's see. Sunday retentions. Let's see here. Dan Quinn staying in Atlanta. Good for you.
Yeah.
The Jaguars are on the fence. Apparently, they said they're going to get rid of Doug Marrone. They haven't done it yet. Now there's reports saying they might not.
Then they said they weren't.
Freddie Kitchens was the first official coach gone after one and a half years in Cleveland. That team was a complete shit show. There's reports right now everywhere right now that the entire coaching staff in Dallas is gone. It was supposed to be announced. Everyone expected it today. The Cowboys have an announcement. They did have their exit interviews. They did have those. They did have their final meetings of the season. They haven't fired everyone yet, but all reports are that Jason Garrett and his entire staff will be gone from Dallas, which is good. Riverboat Ron Rivera, who was fired in week 12, I think it was, in Carolina, is expected to be the new coach of the Washington Redskins.
And they're firing their
yeah, he'll probably take over GM role as well. The Giants let go of Pat Shurmur. He was only there for 2 years. The Browns have requested permission to interview Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels, as well as the Panthers have requested to interview offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy from the Chiefs. And the Browns also requested to interview Robert Saleh,
right,
the Niners offensive coordinator. Now, multiple reports. It is National Bacon Day, by the way. Multiple reports coming out of San Francisco is that Robert Saleh is not interested in being a head coach yet. He wants to learn the reins a little bit more. He wants to learn the ins and outs of coaching, and he is content staying with the defensive coordinator role. If I'm John Lynch and I hear any report of that, I make a phone call and go, hey, we want to extend you. We want to give you a raise. You did a great fucking job this year. Here's a raise. Stay here. There are, like I said, reports that Jason Garrett will be gone. Brian Flores is in Miami. Miami Dolphins have fired their offensive coordinator as well as their safeties and offensive line coaches. So there's some more turnover.
he actually did a pretty good job with what he was dealt with.
Oh, for sure.
They were would they start out 0-7,
Uh,
and they ended up. I think they went 5-2 or 5
and they knocked New England out of the number 1 seed
yeah,
for the first time since 2009.
yeah. So they did a pretty good job the second half of the year.
Oh, they did a fantastic job. There's no knocking what they did there. Um, you did miss King's talk. It was just a whole lot of me yelling. Um,
And it was me making excuses.
yeah, Greg's making excuses of why they're not good. I say we sell them to Seattle. The Raiders could come play at Golden One. Oh, speaking of that,
Oh, there's another. Yeah, we want to invite that shit show to come here.
so I don't give a fuck what kind of shit show is going on there. The Raiders by far have the best looking stadium on the history of the planet. That
The new
all
stadium.
black. If you haven't seen the video yet, there's a video of someone driving down the strip and just taking like a scrolling video of the side of that building.
I think I've seen it.
It's like black on black on black. It's like a matte black finish on the windows. It is fucking beautiful. I want to go just to stand outside and just look at it. It it's everything that fucking Levi's Stadium could have been, except they built Levi's Stadium blindfolded. So even if the Raiders don't win any games, kudos to that design team because that stadium is fucking phenomenal. It better be for like 1.4 billion or whatever the hell it costs.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, Oscar, we'll see you next decade, bud. Although we're about to talk about your Raiders right now because I have a bold prediction that well, it's not a bold prediction that Derek Carr won't be the quarterback of the Raiders next season, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it's either going to be Eli Manning or Ryan Fitzpatrick next season ahead of a rookie quarterback that they're going to draft in the draft.
So Fitzpatrick wants to stay in
Miami.
Yeah, there's another quarterback out there too that I think is that still has a couple of years left in him, and that's Dalton.
Yeah, it could be Andy Dalton. He fits a very similar mold of a Rich Gannon at the time that he came over to Oakland. The other one is Eli Manning. It'll be curious to see how much Eli has left in the tank. And the only reason why I say that is because he literally got to sit all but 3 games this year, and rest and recover and rest the old bones. I can see Eli having a couple more years in him. And I'm going to make another bold move another bold prediction is that the next quarterback of the San Diego Los Angeles Chargers. You want to guess who my guess is?
Trying to think here.
Bills. Delso is going to be a Bills fan.
Who do I have in my shit?
I don't think Jameis Winston leaves Tampa.
No.
And Cam Newton does not fit the mold in Oakland for a John Gruden quarterback.
So I don't know.
The next quarterback of the Los Angeles Chargers will be Derek Carr.
Really?
I have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to be Derek Carr, and he's going to do whatever Phillip Rivers couldn't do and actually throw the ball with a full arm motion and not just a little sidearm squirt. Joe, I like it. That's a great reason. Fantastic reason to be a Bills fan because his daughter's a Patriots fan. I like it. So those are the firings. I think there's gonna be a fucking ton of turnover this year when it comes to players and coaches. It's gonna be an interesting offseason, which is great because baseball's gonna suck, and we're gonna need something. But last night, we didn't do our show last night because there was a pretty big game going on, and it was I thought about this a lot before I wanted to make this statement. And I want to get your opinion on it because you were around a lot longer than I was on this. But last night's game between the 49ers and the Seattle Sea Chickens was the biggest game in San Francisco 49ers history?
No,
Yes.
no.
Why do you say no?
In your lifetime,
Why do you say no?
because I think there are much bigger games that they've played.
Going into the game, show me a bigger game than last night's game. Bigger
Uh,
ramifications than last night's game.
Dallas, San Francisco, 1981.
There wasn't as
The
much on the
catch?
line for that game.
Yeah, there was.
Not the same ramifications. First to fifth, literally lose extra game, losing a playoff game, losing a home field game.
Yeah,
There was more implications in this game than there ever has been. And that's including Super Bowls, because there's never been a time that the 49ers didn't go into a Super Bowl as the favorite.
yeah. I think yesterday was a unique day all throughout the NFL.
It was
Because
insane.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
6 inches is a long shot, Sean. That ball came down to like 4 inches, maybe 3.
I don't. I think it. I think it was right up against it.
No, because his
I mean,
elbow, his right elbow was down before he tried crossing the ball over to his left side. So however
right.
wide his body is basically how far off the line was. Probably 6 or 7 inches.
Yeah. Yeah. It might have had the most ramifications. I don't know if it was the biggest game they've ever played, but I think everything that went on yesterday. I mean, I don't remember a year where there were so many different possible outcomes the the last day of the season. In fact, I was thinking about it because our fantasy football league, one of the leagues I'm in, we play all 17 weeks, and usually there's all kinds of stuff going on in terms of transactions the last week, and didn't have to do that very much this week because every team every team that was in it and two or three teams that weren't in it had a chance,
Yeah.
and they were either playing for a spot or playing to keep somebody out of the spot. And yeah, I think this is by far one of the days of the season where one of the last weeks of the season they had the most implications. So yeah, I okay, I'll kind of buy that.
Yeah, it was one of those things where um it's going to be it was one of those things where it's like, man, there was so much. Like if the Saints would have lost, then the Packers would have slid up. If the Packers would have lost, then the Saints would have slid up. I've never seen the potential of a 12-3 team or a 12-4 team being a wild card, which we saw
No,
now because Seattle's 12-4 or
right,
11-5, whatever they were. Um,
12-4,
yeah, 12-4, sitting in a wild card, getting a
or a
damn
13-3 team being the 3 seed.
yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, good lord, and and the NFL needs to fix their playoff system because there's no way that Philly should be hosting that game next week against Seattle. It should not happen. Um, but let's talk about the game first, though, the Niners Seahawks game, because the Niners came out in the first quarter, in the first half, up 13-0, and they were just doing everything they could to stifle Seattle. I mean, their defenses were right. They were holding containment on Russell Wilson. I think bringing Marshawn Lynch back was a big mistake by Seattle. There was too much of a distraction. We'll get to that at the very end of the game. Um, the the refs started out okay, and then we were making a joke here where we were watching it that the Seahawks had some problem with their Venmo, and that's why the refs were so fair because they couldn't send the payments across to New York.
Yeah,
Um,
I think everybody has. I think both teams have a lot to complain about
they
last
do,
night's
but
game.
the Niners, I feel, had a lot more to complain about than Seattle did. But if you read
I
if
don't know about that.
well, let's start from the very beginning. End of the first half. Fourth was it third down? There's a play, and I don't remember the exact play, but it was something that Pete Carroll wanted to be reviewed. So it's the play clock's clicking down. No calls coming down for the replay. Nothing. Calls timeout. Then they wait the full 30-second duration of the timeout. Nothing. And then they get 15 seconds into the play clock again. And then finally the refs blow the whistle that we're going to review it. It was 2.5 minutes later after the first whistle was blown dead on the play that they finally decided to review the play. Then, on top of that, give Seattle their timeout back because, oh, no, we decided to review it. You don't need to waste a timeout. 2.5 minutes later. And then at the end of it went, well, the call stands because we can't take this one away from San Francisco because there's nothing there for us to take over. Like, that right there was the first sign that there was something wrong with the referees because there's no circumstance where if New York can't trigger a review in under 2 minutes at that point, that quickly, they should not be reviewing the play. There's nothing that should be allowing the home team to manipulate it that long. And then multiple plays where there were blatant holds, tackles from behind when Russell Wilson's squirting away that weren't called on Bosa or Buckner in their favor that resulted in multiple plays for Seattle going the right way. There was a blatant delay game in the third quarter. The clock was on zero for more than a second, almost a full second. They didn't whistle it dead. There's another play that, and I can't find the screenshot of it, and see if I can find it real quick here because if I took the screenshot of it, it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't think that I did, but there's a picture, and I'll try to find it later, and I'll share it to our page. There's a photo, and let's just say that the ball was lined up on the 30-yard line, the Niners 30. Seattle had the ball going. They're in Niner territory on the 30. Mm-hmm. The ball was spotted at the 28-yard line. The Niners defensive linemen and linebackers' feet were on the right-hand side of the 30. They were traveling left to right on the TV screen. The ball was a yard behind that on the 31, let's say. I said 29. On the 31, so moving to the left. The wide receivers for Seattle's toes were on the 30. They were lined up directly parallel to the Niners defense. Didn't call offsides. 3 of them were lined up on that line. The ball was a yard behind them. No offsides called. Then we get to that complete and utterly bullshit roughing play, the personal foul on the center, who was 15 yards down on a running play, thinking the play's still going on.
Right, that was bullshit.
That was one of the worst calls I think I've ever seen when it comes to that. It's the loudest stadium in the entire NFL. It's a play that if it wasn't for a lucky shoestring trip, the play's still going on, so then it becomes a legitimate block. And for them, and if you go back and watch that play, they were zoomed in on Pete Carroll after they threw the flag. Carroll's yelling at the refs to let it go. Let it go. Just let it go. Like telling him not even to throw the flag. You can read his lips. He's yelling, let it go, because he knew it was bullshit. They still called the foul anyways. That took the Niners from a 3rd and 4 to a 3rd and 17 and caused a punt, which gave the Seahawks the last drive in the fourth quarter the chance to come down and win the game. Then if you look at Seattle fans, consistently is not even the word. It's constantly is where they get their assistance from the referees at home. And then on that last drive, the pass interference that everyone wants, right? All of everybody's screaming and hollering about the pass interference if you're a Seattle fan. Oh, but that was a pass interference. That was a pass interference. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. Well, the NFL came out and basically the referee committee said, look, we looked at it. We couldn't call that a pass interference because the wide receiver initiated the contact. The defender has the right to hold his ground to regain his balance. And in doing so, he had to put his hands on the wide receiver. And then the wide receiver pushed off to gain more leverage. Like, if anything, it should have been an offensive pass interference. And Tony Dungy went online and he tweeted out, that was a terrible call. It took the game away from Seattle and blah, 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 blah. Richard Sherman had the best response to that on Twitter. He said, okay, so you want the wide receiver to initiate the contact, cause the defender to fall off his spot, then push off for leverage and still get the call for pass interference. He says, yeah, that makes sense. The ref, Seattle simply blew it. And the reason why I say that, because that play doesn't matter. The stop at the goal line, which was Dre Greenlaw, just earned his next contract with that stop. I don't care what you say.
Right.
That
No,
rookie earned his salt in that play. They, being the Seahawks, shot themselves in the foot, and I blame this loss on Marshawn Lynch. And the reason why I say that is because they got the ball down to the 1 yard line on the play before the final play of the game, got down to the 1 yard line. Lynch is sitting on the bench without his helmet. They're out of timeouts. The clock's ticking down. They want Lynch in there to get the final touchdown at the 1. So they pander for him. They get his helmet. He gets out there, delay a game, 1 yard line, moves them back to the 6, and that's where the final play occurs, where they get stopped at the quarter inch line. If you don't have Marshawn Lynch and the circus that came with it in yesterday's game and the throwing of the Skittles and showing up to their facility in a truck full of Skittles and all that other bullshit, the 49ers are the 5th seed and they're going to Philly next weekend.
I agree.
100%. I put that on Pete Carroll. I put that on Marshawn Lynch.
I put it on Pete. It's 100% on Pete.
And if Russell Wilson's as great of a quarterback as he is, then and I'm not saying he's not, because he is an amazing talent. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And if we didn't have Jimmy Garoppolo, I would take Russell Wilson in a fucking heartbeat. But he needs to be aware of that play clock, and he needs to be telling them, no, we're good, because that right there should have been Russell Wilson sneaking the ball in up to the line, hurry up offense, running that ball in, because it was 3rd down.
Well, I
or it would have been 4th down.
I don't think any of them were paying attention to the clock.
They were waiting to get Lynch on the field.
Yeah, but I still don't think they were paying attention to the clock, because if you look at it,
they were still in the huddle.
They were still in the huddle. They were still trying to get things worked out. And when they did throw the flag, it was like Wilson was shocked. It was like he was almost like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, he turned around and he was like, wait, what? I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Great game by the 49ers. Great game for Seattle. It's going to be... I've never in my life thought that I would say that I'm rooting for the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday because there's the Saints. I think the Niners can keep up with, and if Minnesota wins, then we don't have to worry about the Saints. The Niners can handle Green Bay. They've already done it. The only team right now and I'm not worried about Philly either, because they'd have to come out here and they're not playing in the potential elements in Philly. The only team in the NFC right now that worries me, because it'd be hard to beat them a second time, is Seattle. And the Niners in the last 5-6 years, by the way, they broke an 8-game losing streak in Seattle. But the Niners have not done well playing Seattle at home. It's a coin toss, and Seattle typically comes in and plays extremely good ball in California.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they got there. I think they should have won the first game this year. They should have. They screwed that game up with play calling the first
at the end of the first half. Yep.
Yeah, at the end of the second half.
First half too, when they decided not to go for the points.
Right. So I think they should have won that game. They did win the second game, and I think they have their number. I think the teams are close.
I don't know if you could say they have their number. Maybe they have the edge because they'd be at home in the playoffs, but you can't say they have their number.
No, but I just don't think that. I don't think Seahawks can do it. I think it actually would be more of a blowout next time.
Very interesting. Do we make picks next week? We don't. So our pick'em is done. Actually, let's do the playoffs real quick, because the AFC and NFC both are pretty crazy. I mean, I would like to see the turnover from last year to this year, because there's always the 6 in and out.
6 teams.
6 teams that were in last year are out this year.
Yeah.
So the Ravens took the number 1 seed. The Chiefs took the 2nd seed thanks to Miami. Patriots fall to 3. The Texans are in at 4. The Bills in at 5, and the Titans snuck in and took the 6th seed.
Right.
The fact that Ryan Tannehill resurrected his career is fucking unbelievable.
They went like 7-2 with him as quarterback.
Yeah, and just absolutely unbelievable. So Saturday it looks like it's Titans at New England, and I honestly think that the way New England is playing, the Titans have just as much chance as anybody to win that game. The Patriots in the playoffs obviously are a different animal. They're a very hard team to beat. Belichick is one you always want to put your money on, but they are playing. They picked the worst time to be playing their worst football this season. They looked bad last week. Or 2 weeks ago. They looked bad this week. Obviously losing. It's not going to be a while, but it's not going to be a walk in the park for Seattle for New England.
No.
The Bills and Texans. I wish our pick'em continued into this week because I would take Buffalo over the Texans at home. I just think Buffalo's playing at a really good level. I like their chances. They're crazy. Then the following week on the 11th or the 10th and the 11th and 12th, I'm sorry, on Saturday 11th, it'll be the Ravens and the lowest winning seed from this weekend, and then the Chiefs and the highest winning seed. And then on the NFC side, we have Saints Vikings on Saturday. Like I said, rooting for the Vikings. I know Tone's on right now. He's a huge Saints fan, biggest Saints fan that I know. I'm sorry, but I want to see Minnesota coming to Levi's next weekend, and then it's Eagles and Seahawks in Philly. I can't imagine a situation where Seattle doesn't come out and avenge this back-to-back losses.
Right.
But Carson Wentz has been one of the best quarterbacks in the league the last couple of weeks. So there's a very good chance that Seattle comes out and lays another egg too. There's not a clear-cut anything this other than maybe the Ravens, like being a dead-on favorite. And you might be able to say the same thing about San Francisco just because of how they've been playing all season long. But man, it's gonna be. There's finally gonna be football where you could just be like, let's just watch it because it's not guaranteed to be New England and whoever else from the NFC.
Right.
And then the lower seed, like I said, goes to San Francisco. The higher seed goes to the Packers. So we have the potential of a Niners. It'll either be Niners, Eagles, Niners, Seahawks, unless the Vikings win. But if the Saints win, we're getting a divisional round of the Packers and Saints.
Oh,
and
that's going to be an awesome.
That's going to be amazing for the fucking divisional round. Which, if the Niners somehow win the division round, then you're guaranteed a rematch from one of those divisional games this year. It's either going to be Niners Packers or Niners Saints, and that's going to be insane if they can get past whoever comes out of the Seahawks Eagles game.
The Saints scare me. The Saints scare me.
Yes.
The Packers don't scare me as much. The Saints scare me.
I would be a lot more scared if the Niners didn't have home field advantage.
Yeah.
As for our pick'em this year,
let's not talk about that.
You can zip it. Jeff Jones wins the league at 173 points.
He killed everybody.
Oh, he absolutely did. Tom Morgan, 163 points. Anya, 162 points. Myself in fourth place at 161. Josh Zimmerman, you came in fifth at a 158. Veroza, 155. If it's any consolation, you beat James and TJ at 153 and 149, respectively. So TJ, last place. Womp, womp, womp. Next week we'll do our Greggy Awards.
Yeah.
If you guys have any suggestions of awards, definitely send them to our way so we can go ahead and do those. Football's gonna be fun. Niners have an extra bye week. They're expecting D Ford and Jarkuski Tart back for that game in 2 weeks. Quan Alexander could be back by the divisional round, or that would be the divisional round. He could be back by that game. Most likely, if they do make it to the championship round, they'll have Quan Alexander back as well. It's going to be exciting. It's definitely going to be exciting. I can't wait. Sports Talk 916 t-shirts should be available soon as well. If you're interested, reach out to us. I'll let you know what they're going to cost and what they're going to look like. I'll be working on those this weekend, hopefully, if I can. Um, I'll get a couple samples made up and then let people see what they look like. But those should be coming. Stickers can be made as well. Josh Zimmerman doesn't think New England gets out of this week. I can see it happening. I can see the Titans rolling this train. It's gonna be fun.
Oh, I do too. I can see it, and I can see the Patriots going off too.
Oh, for sure. But like I said, let's just hope for a. If Seattle has to win in Philly, then let's definitely hope for a Minnesota upset over New Orleans.
Right.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Not really. Um, no.
Good,
I'm
because
good.
my throat is killing me. This was episode 298. We have 2 more until the big 300. Should be soon. Next week will be, yeah. So 301 should be Super Bowlish.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anything else going on? It's the last show of the year, last show of the decade.
No, stop that. It's not.
But it is.
Decade doesn't start till next year.
You're old. Shut up. It's the last year of the decade.
No, it's not.
Okay. Well, it's the last show of the year, Rosa. You old man. 2019 went by super quick. We'll be back in 2020. So
Yeah.
for everyone, have a happy new year. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. Don't do anything stupid. Take an Uber. Call a friend. Call Greg Rosa. He doesn't sleep. And we'll see you guys all next year. Happy
Good
Bacon
night,
Day.
Larry.
National Bacon Day. And
That's right.
we'll see you guys all later.
Night, Larry.